The dining room at Mom's house in Charleston was suffocating with expensive taste and family judgment. Crystal stemware caught the light from the chandelier, the one my sister Vanessa had convinced Mom to buy for $18,000 because it's what people of our station have. The table was set with china that cost more than my monthly rent, laden with a meal prepared by the private chef Vanessa had also convinced Mom she needed. I sat at the far end of the table, in what had become my assigned seat over the years, as far from Mom as possible while still technically being included. Vanessa held court at Mom's right hand, her husband Blake beside her, their teenage twins on their phones at the middle seats. My younger brother Josh rounded out the family, looking uncomfortable in the sport coat Vanessa had probably told him to wear. This was our monthly Sunday dinner. The ritual where Vanessa reminded everyone of her position as the favorite daughter, where Mom discussed her various ailments and social calendar, where I sat quietly and counted the minutes until I could leave. "Darling, you simply must try the duck," Vanessa said to Mom, her voice carrying that affected tone she'd adopted after marrying Blake and his trust fund. "Chef Pierre says it's his specialty. I hired him specifically for his French training." "It's wonderful," Mom agreed, taking a delicate bite. "You have such exquisite taste, Vanessa. I don't know what I'd do without your guidance." I cut into my own duck, which was admittedly delicious, and said nothing. I'd learned years ago that Sunday dinners weren't about conversation. They were about performance. Vanessa's performance of being the perfect daughter, Mom's performance of being the sophisticated matriarch, and my performance of being sufficiently chastened for my various failures. Those failures, according to family law, included moving to Asheville instead of staying in Charleston, becoming a landscape architect instead of something more suitable, buying a modest cottage instead of a proper estate, and generally refusing to participate in the social climbing that consumed Vanessa's every waking moment. "So, Mother," Vanessa said, setting down her fork with theatrical precision, "I wanted to discuss something important while we're all together." Here it comes, I thought. Whatever Vanessa wanted to announce, she'd orchestrated this entire dinner around it. "Of course, dear," Mom said, dabbing her lips with a linen napkin. "What is it?" "Blake and I have been discussing your estate planning," Vanessa began, her voice taking on that serious tone she used when she wanted to sound responsible. "We're concerned that you don't have everything properly organized. At your age, with your health concerns, it's critical to have clear documentation." Mom was 68 and in perfect health, but Vanessa had spent years convincing her she was frail. "We've arranged a meeting with our estate attorney tomorrow," Vanessa continued. "He's prepared all the necessary documents to transfer your assets into a proper trust structure. For protection, you understand. And for efficient distribution when the time comes." "What assets are we discussing?" Josh asked, speaking for the first time. Vanessa shot him an irritated look. "The primary residence here in Charleston, obviously. The beach house on Sullivan's Island. And the 6 rental properties in the historic district. Those generate substantial income that needs to be managed properly." I did the math quietly. The Charleston house was worth about $2.3 million. The beach house, easily $1.8 million. The rental properties in the historic district, probably another $3 million combined. $7.1 million in real estate, plus whatever investment accounts Mom maintained. "And this trust," I said carefully, "how would it be structured?" Vanessa's eyes flicked to me with annoyance, as if I'd broken some unspoken rule by participating. "The structure ensures Mom maintains control during her lifetime, with clear succession planning for afterward. It's all very standard." "Succession to whom?" I pressed. "To the family, obviously," Vanessa said, her tone suggesting I was being deliberately obtuse. "Though given the complexity of managing these properties and Mom's affairs, it makes sense to designate a primary trustee. Someone local, someone invested in maintaining the family legacy." "Someone like you," I said. "Well, yes," Vanessa confirmed, not even pretending to be modest about it. "I'm the logical choice. I live here in Charleston, I have experience managing properties through Blake's family holdings, and I've been actively involved in Mom's care and finances for years." "Actively involved," I repeated. "Is that what we're calling it?" Vanessa's expression hardened. "Some of us chose to stay close to family, Avery. Some of us prioritized our mother over our own selfish pursuits. You moved to Asheville 8 years ago and barely visit. You can't expect the same consideration as those of us who actually show up. I visit once a month, I pointed out. I'm here right now. For Sunday dinner, Vanessa said dismissively. You breeze in for a meal and then disappear back to your little mountain cottage. That's not the same as being present. Being available. Being a daughter who actually cares. The familiar guilt trip. The one she'd been running for 8 years, trying to make me feel bad for building a life outside Charleston's suffocating social hierarchy. Vanessa has been wonderful, Mom interjected, her voice soft. She handles all my appointments, manages my social calendar, coordinates with the property managers. I don't know how I'd function without her. Exactly, Vanessa said, warming to her theme now. Which is why tomorrow's meeting is so important. We're formalizing everything, the trust structure, the property management, the eventual distribution. It's all very carefully planned. Distribution, Josh said. You mean who inherits what? Yes, Vanessa confirmed. The attorney has prepared a distribution plan that reflects each person's level of involvement and commitment to the family. It's only fair that those who've invested time and energy should benefit accordingly. Let me guess, I said, unable to keep the edge from my voice. You get everything. Vanessa smiled, and it was the smile of someone who'd already won and was enjoying revealing her victory. Not everything, Avery. Don't be dramatic. Josh will receive a financial settlement, enough to be comfortable. You'll receive some of Mother's jewelry and personal items. But yes, the properties, the primary assets, those will come to me. Because I've earned them. The room fell silent. Even the twins looked up from their phones, sensing the tension. You've earned them, I repeated slowly. Yes, Vanessa said firmly. Through years of dedication, of sacrifice, of being the daughter who stayed. Who cared. Who didn't abandon her mother for some fantasy life in the mountains. And everyone agrees with this. I looked around the table. Josh looked uncomfortable. Blake was carefully studying his wine glass. The twins had returned to their phones. Mom wouldn't meet my eyes. It's what makes sense, Mom said quietly. Vanessa will take good care of everything. She'll preserve the family legacy. You've built your own life, Avery. You don't need these properties. Need and deserve aren't the same thing, I said. You're right, Vanessa agreed. They are not. And you haven't done anything to deserve a $7 million inheritance. You left Charleston. You chose your career over family. You've barely been present in Mom's life. Why should you benefit from assets you had no hand in maintaining? She was building to her crescendo now, playing to Mom, performing the role of devoted daughter who'd earned her reward. So tomorrow, Vanessa continued, Mom will sign the trust documents. Everything will be properly transferred. And finally, we'll have clarity about the family's future. A future where the people who actually show up are the ones who benefit. She looked directly at me, her expression mixing pity and triumph. You should have been a better daughter, Avery. Maybe then you'd be part of this conversation instead of an afterthought. Everyone laughed. Blake chuckled. The twins smirked. Josh looked away, embarrassed but not willing to defend me. Mom smiled indulgently at Vanessa, proud of her favorite child's performance. And something inside me snapped. I'd spent 8 years taking this abuse. 8 years listening to Vanessa rewrite history, painting herself as the devoted daughter while casting me as the selfish one who'd abandoned the family. 8 years of guilt trips and manipulations and being made to feel like my choices were somehow betrayals. I was done. I set down my fork and smiled. That's interesting, Vanessa. There's just one small problem with your plan. What problem? She asked, irritation flickering across her face. I spoke 4 words. 4 simple words that I'd been saving for exactly this moment. I already owned them. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Mom's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor in an explosion of crystal and Bordeaux. The red wine spread across the white tablecloth like blood. What? Vanessa said, her voice barely a whisper. The properties, I said calmly. The house, the beach property, the 6 rentals. I own all of them. Already. Have for 3 years. That's impossible, Vanessa said, but her voice shook. Mom owns those properties. They are in her name. They were in her name, I corrected. Until January 2021, when she transferred them to me via quit-claim deeds and trust documentation. All properly filed with Charleston County. All completely legal. Mom had gone pale. Her mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. "You're lying," Vanessa said, standing abruptly. "This is some kind of sick joke." "It's not a joke," I said. "Call the attorney if you don't believe me. Better yet, check the county property records. They are public. You can look them up right now." Blake pulled out his phone, his fingers moving quickly. His face went from confident to confused to shocked in the span of 30 seconds. "She's right," he said quietly. "The Charleston house property record shows Avery Bennett as owner. Transfer date January 15, 2021. "No," Vanessa said. "No, that can't be right. Check the others." Blake kept scrolling. Beach house, same owner, same transfer date. Rental properties. Jesus, all 6 of them. All transferred to Avery in January 2021. Vanessa grabbed his phone, staring at the screen like it had betrayed her. Then she turned to Mom with something like fury in her eyes. "You gave her everything? Behind my back? After everything I've done for you?" "Vanessa, I can explain," Mom started, but her voice was weak. "When?" Vanessa demanded. "When did this happen? How did you do this without me knowing?" "Because you were too busy planning your next social event to notice," I said quietly. "Too busy telling Mom what she needed and what she should buy and how she should present herself. Too busy performing the role of devoted daughter to actually be one." "I was devoted," Vanessa shouted. "I was here. Every day, managing her life, handling everything." "Managing her money, you mean," I said. "Let's be honest about what you were really doing." "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" I pulled out my phone and opened a folder I'd labeled Mom, Financial Records. "It means that in December 2020, Mom hired a forensic accountant to review her finances. Specifically, to review the rental property income and the expenses you'd been managing for her." Vanessa's face went from red to white. "Want to guess what the accountant found?" I asked. Over 4 years, the 6 rental properties generated approximately $960,000 in rental income. After legitimate expenses, taxes, insurance, actual maintenance, Mom should have received about $600,000 in net income. She received $370,000. $230,000 was missing. "That's a lie," Vanessa said, but her voice had lost its certainty. "It's documented," I said. "Inflated repair costs, fabricated maintenance fees, rental income that was collected but never deposited to Mom's account. $230,000 diverted over 4 years through various schemes. All with you as the property manager." Blake had gone very still, staring at his wife. "The accountant presented his findings to Mom in December 2020, I continued. Mom called me that same day, devastated. She asked me to fly down immediately. So I did. I took a week off work and spent it helping her figure out what to do." I looked at Mom, who was crying silently now. "She didn't want to believe you'd stolen from her, Vanessa. She kept saying there must be some explanation, some misunderstanding. But the numbers didn't lie." "What happened then?" Josh asked quietly. He'd been silent through the whole revelation, but his face showed he was piecing things together. "Mom had 3 options," I said. "File criminal charges, demand repayment, or protect her assets by transferring them somewhere safe. She chose option 3. She transferred everything to me, the house, the beach property, the rentals, all of it. Put it in my name where you couldn't touch it anymore." "That's elder abuse," Vanessa said desperately. "Manipulation, undue influence." "It's protection," I corrected. "And it was her idea, not mine. I tried to talk her out of it, actually. Told her we should demand repayment or at least confront you. But she said she couldn't handle the scandal, couldn't face the reality that her favorite daughter had been stealing from her for years." Mom sobbed harder. I felt a pang of guilt for exposing this so publicly, but Vanessa had forced my hand. She'd orchestrated this whole dinner to humiliate me, to announce her victory, to rub my face in my supposed irrelevance. She'd owned what came next. So we hired an estate attorney, not Blake's family attorney, someone independent, and we transferred everything, I continued. Mom retained the right to live in the Charleston house for her lifetime. The rental income still supports her living expenses. But the properties themselves? Mine. Have been for 3 years. 3 years, Vanessa whispered. You've known for 3 years that I was stealing, and you said nothing. Mom asked me not to, I said. She couldn't bear the thought of the family finding out. Of Charleston society knowing that her perfect daughter was a thief. So we kept quiet. I managed the properties remotely, hired a legitimate property management company, and watched the rental income nearly double once your skimming stopped. My phone rang. I glanced at the screen, perfect timing. Excuse me, I said, standing and answering the call. This is Avery. Ms. Bennett. This is Richard Morrison from Morrison & Associates. I apologize for calling on a Sunday evening, but you asked me to contact you if anyone attempted to access your mother's property records or schedule estate planning meetings. Yes, I said, putting it on speaker so everyone could hear. I received a call late Friday from a Thomas Caldwell at Caldwell & Hewitt, stating he was preparing estate documents for Virginia Bennett and needed verification of current ownership status. I informed him that Mrs. Bennett transferred her properties in 2021 and that any estate planning would need to go through you as the current owner. What was his response? I asked, watching Vanessa's face. Confusion, followed by insistence that there must be some mistake. I referred him to the county records and advised him not to proceed with any documentation that claimed ownership by Mrs. Bennett. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate the call. Of course. And Ms. Bennett? Mr. Caldwell mentioned he had an appointment scheduled with Mrs. Bennett for tomorrow at 9 a.m. I took the liberty of calling his office and informing them that meeting was cancelled, as Mrs. Bennett doesn't have legal authority to transfer properties she doesn't own. I hope that was appropriate. Completely appropriate, I confirmed. Thank you. I ended the call and looked at Vanessa. So, the meeting you have scheduled for tomorrow? Not happening. Because Mom can't sign over properties she doesn't own anymore. This is insane, Vanessa said, but she was looking at Mom now, betrayal written across her face. How could you do this to me? I've dedicated my life to taking care of you. You dedicated your life to stealing from her, I corrected. There's a difference. I did not steal, I managed. I worked. Do you have any idea how much time I spent dealing with tenants and repairs and overcharging for everything so you could pocket the difference? I finished. Yes, I know exactly what you did. The forensic accountant documented it all. Want me to go through the specifics? The contractor who charged $3,000 for work you claimed cost $8,000? The rental income you collected in cash and never reported? The phantom repair expenses that never actually happened? Vanessa's composure was cracking completely now. You can't prove any of that. I can, I said simply. I have the full audit report. Every inflated invoice, every missing payment, every fraudulent expense. $230,000 over 4 years. Would you like me to email it to you? Or should I just forward it to Blake so he can see what his wife has really been doing? Blake stood abruptly. I need some air. He walked out of the dining room without looking at Vanessa. The twins, sensing disaster, grabbed their phones and fled upstairs. Josh looked at me with something like respect. You've been sitting on this for 3 years. Mom asked me to, I said. She didn't want the confrontation. Didn't want Charleston society gossiping about her family. She thought if we just quietly transferred everything and stopped giving Vanessa access, the problem would solve itself. Did it? Josh asked. No, I admitted. Vanessa just found new ways to manipulate. New narratives about being the devoted daughter while I was the selfish one. New schemes to position herself as the heir to everything. It all finally came to a head tonight. I looked at Vanessa. You couldn't just let it go, could you? You had to orchestrate this big announcement, had to humiliate me publicly, had to make absolutely sure everyone knew I was getting nothing. And in doing so, you forced me to reveal what Mom spent 3 years trying to hide. You've destroyed this family, Vanessa said, tears of rage streaming down her face. No, I said quietly. You destroyed it when you decided stealing from your mother was acceptable. I just exposed it. There's a difference. Mom was still crying, her face buried in her hands. I walked around the table and knelt beside her chair. Mom, I'm sorry, I said gently. I know you didn't want them to know. But she gave me no choice. She was going to trick you into signing documents tomorrow that would have caused huge legal problems. I had to stop it. I know, Mom whispered. I know. You did the right thing. I wanted to believe she'd changed. That maybe she'd stopped. She didn't stop, I said. She just got more creative. The new chef, the expensive renovations she convinced you to do, the investment opportunities she's been pitching, it's all the same pattern. Taking your money and calling it care. Mom nodded, accepting what she'd probably known deep down all along. What happens now? Josh asked. Now, I said, standing, the properties stay in my name. Mom continues living here as long as she wants. The rental income continues supporting her expenses. And Vanessa loses access to everything she's been trying to steal. I will fight this, Vanessa said, her voice venomous. I will hire lawyers, contest the transfers, prove you manipulated Mom. Please do, I said calmly. I'll provide the forensic accounting report to your attorneys. They can review the evidence of your theft and advise you on whether you really want to pursue litigation that will expose you as an embezzler. Your choice. I need that money, Vanessa said, and now there was desperation in her voice. Do you understand? Blake's family trust isn't what we thought it was. His father has been threatening to cut him off. We have debts, obligations, we need that inheritance. Then you shouldn't have stolen the first 230,000, I said. Actions have consequences, Vanessa. You spent years painting me as the bad daughter who abandoned the family. But the reality is that I'm the one who protected Mom when she needed it. I'm the one she trusted with her legacy. And I'm the one who'll make sure it's preserved. For yourself, Vanessa spat. Don't pretend this is noble. You took everything for yourself. Wrong, I said. Mom still benefits from everything. She lives here rent-free. The income supports her expenses. She wants for nothing. When she passes, the properties will go to a trust that benefits all three of her children equally. Not just me. Not just you. All of us. I had the trust documents drawn up 2 years ago. Mom reviewed and approved them. That stopped Vanessa cold. What? You're not being cut out, I explained. You're just not getting everything, the way you planned. 1/3 of the estate value will go to you, 1/3 to Josh, 1/3 to me. All legitimate, all legal, all fair. But I've been managing everything, Vanessa protested, though her voice had lost its fire. No, you've been stealing from everything, I corrected. There's a difference. And honestly, Vanessa, the fact that you can't see the difference is exactly why Mom transferred everything to me in the first place. I gathered my things, suddenly exhausted. I'm going back to Asheville. Mom, I'll call you tomorrow. We'll figure out next steps. Josh, if you want to talk, you have my number. I walked toward the door, then paused and turned back to Vanessa. For what it's worth, I never wanted it to be like this. I would have happily shared everything if you'd just been honest. If you'd managed the properties legitimately. If you'd loved Mom more than you loved her money. But you didn't. And now you have to live with the consequences. You've ruined me, Vanessa said, her voice hollow. No, I replied. You ruined yourself. I just stopped you from ruining Mom too. I walked out into the Charleston evening, breathing in the humid air, feeling the weight of 8 years of judgment finally lifting from my shoulders. My phone buzzed. A text from Josh, thank you. Someone needed to stop her. Another text, this one from Mom's number. I'm sorry you had to do that. But I'm grateful you did. I love you, Mom. I sat in my car for a long moment before driving away, thinking about family and legacy and what it meant to be a good daughter. Vanessa thought being a good daughter meant staying close, managing affairs, being publicly devoted. But underneath all that performance, she'd been systematically stealing from the person she claimed to care about most. I'd moved away, built my own life, visited monthly instead of daily. But when Mom needed someone to trust, someone to protect her assets, someone to care more about her well-being than about an inheritance, she'd chosen me. Not because I was the better daughter. But because I was the honest one. The properties were mine. The truth was out. And the sister who'd spent years claiming I should have been better had finally learned what better actually looked like. For words had stopped her heart. I already own them. But it was the years of quiet protection, honest management, and genuine care that had earned them. Vanessa had announced her victory. I'd simply revealed it never existed. And somewhere in that Charleston dining room, surrounded by shattered crystal and shattered illusions, my sister was finally learning that performing devotion is not the same as actually being devoted. The lawyer had called. The truth had emerged. And the daughter who'd been dismissed as selfish had turned out to be the only one who'd actually protected what mattered. Not the properties. Not the inheritance. But the mother who'd needed someone to love her more than they loved her money. That was worth far more than $7 million in Charleston real estate. That was priceless.